Welcome back, man. So we've had a lot of great guests on here. We had Ben Kane. We've had Dr. Ben Bickman, and this is a guy I've known for longer than all of them. In fact, we became friends back in the day slanging fat burners together. Boy, did we slang some fat burners. Ladies and gentlemen, a guy I'm proud to call a friend for many years, Mike Roberto. Mike, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing excellent. Thanks for having me on, Mark. Man, TigerFitness.com. It's been a while watching this channel, watching you grow and everything. So this is exciting for me because, like many of your viewers, I'm probably a longtime fan as well. So it's been a while being here, on this channel because you've done some legendary stuff. So thanks for doing everything you've done.
You know what, man? I remember when I first came on board, partnered with Chad at Tiger Fitness, and he's like, I remember looking at the numbers, and there was a huge constituency, a huge part of our numbers was this Mike Roberto. I'm like, who the hell is this guy, and what the hell is he doing? Like, is he buying this all for himself? No, it was your affiliate link for Oxy Elite Pro. And I've never seen anything like it. I mean, and it was the greatest relationship ever. And because I first looked at it, I'm not going to lie, I don't know if this is too much information. When I saw what we were paying you a month, and I'm like, what the hell? Like, this guy, are we sponsoring Ronnie Coleman? And it was like, no, this guy, he's the best at what he does. And, back in the day, you did. So how did you start doing that? And explain kind of what you did? Because it's a lot of people don't know this about you.
Yeah, thanks for asking. So the longer story is we're about the same age, actually. I'm 43. I think you just said it with Ben. 44. You're 44. And for those who are listening, don't know, Ben Kane was recently on this, and we worked together in Price Plow. I founded Price Plow in 2008, and I started it as a price comparison and deals site. And so the idea, actually going even further back in the early 2000s, I came up with the idea just trying to save. I was poor and in college. I was playing club water polo at Ohio State, and I was trying to save $1 on Optimum Nutrition 100% whey. And there were some price comparison sites back then. They weren't well organized for like all the different sizes and flavors. So I was like, someone's got to do better. And then I, graduated with an engineering degree and was like, got a sales job and had a blast doing all that, but I was pretty disenfranchised in the corporate world. So I came back to this idea of making a price comparison site. And the whole idea really was to have like passive income type thing. And so I launched it in 2008 and quickly realized that, Google's not just going to send you free traffic for having coupons on your site and stuff. This is not how it works. Content is king. And so I started blogging about stuff, and turns out I have a little bit of a knack for writing. And so I had a couple of blog posts go viral in the community, and it kind of helped. But in the meantime, it was during, of course, the DMAA hype days and everything. And so there was Jacked and there was Oxy Elite Pro. For the record, everyone, I do have one last tub of Jacked in my freezer. It's probably a brick at this point, but it is
$1 million.
It is an original tub. I don't know what I'm ever going to do with that, but it's there. So it's probably a brick. Anyway, started doing some sales copywriting, and I actually used myself as a testimonial. And Oxy Elite Pro, the original version, it worked. I mean, that stuff was crazy. And so it worked for me. It worked for a lot of people, and for many reasons, of course, but like the formula is pretty wild. And a lot of people were searching for it. You searched for it. You found my sales copy / review. And it was a real review. I have a picture where I was using it before training for an ocean swim. I still do competitive open water swimming and everything. But in this one picture, I was pretty shredded, and it's almost embarrassingly so because I lost too much muscle, and we could get into all that stuff, like the personal endeavors and everything. But man, that picture definitely, it made a couple sales for the Oxy Elite Pro. And we were using the Price Plow technology and I would do things completely different at this point, but I was just like passive income, shoot it to the best deal or to a good deal out there. And Tiger Fitness was the one. And so we did a lot of business together. Now, this is where, like, if I could do it all over again, I would do like basically everything all over again, all that stuff, but no regrets. But the thing is with what I noticed, and I ran some numbers, and I'm not going to take any credit, obviously, because what you did at Tiger Fitness was epic. You got there in front of video where I was, let's be honest, I was hiding behind the screen. I put my picture up there, but I was doing the writing and the copywriting when you were making videos. And that's what I obviously should have been doing. But what I did is I ran some of the numbers, and one year you were on like the Inc. 5,000 list or whatever for like fastest growing businesses.
So I've been on there 9 times. And my highest was, hold on, it's right there. 1 second. The highest I got was 116.
Nice.
Yeah, that was, and you know, that was a fun ride. It is a fun ride. I think that, you know, being able to maintain that level of growth for multiple years is very hard to do. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it was, I think that was, what was that? 2018 or something. I think 2015.
Okay. That was I was before that. But
yeah, you were before that. But I mean, let's be real. Like, you helped get us to a point where we can maintain the growth and get to that growth. You were one of probably the main catalyst to that growth, and partnering with you is just amazing.
Thanks for saying that. Yeah. So that I don't think we've ever even talked about this. I did some bar napkin math, and I kind of looked at what you had grown that year versus like what Price Plow had sent you. And I was like, oh man, they might not have made it to the list if this campaign didn't blow up like it did. But, and so this is the thing, and then like no sour grapes. Here's this, the literal truth though, is that you took that traffic, you got the emails, you built the list, you did the YouTube. I sent the traffic there and I got great commissions, like basically 100% profit. Let's be honest.
It was wild.
But it was you that actually built a real business out of it. While I did not. I failed to do that. I failed to actually keep people, you know, and that was a massive like regret / mistake, because you were the one who built things up when I should have also been working on building a real brand. And eventually, when the SEO things actually changed in 2012, 2013 or whatever, it was like the Google Penguin thing. I don't know if any old timers remember that. I got smashed. And that's when I really, it's a good thing I got smashed, because that's when I really realized that this affiliate nonsense is not good enough. And we still have some affiliate stuff like, you know, coupon code, Price Plow, all that stuff. But it's like, no, you got to build a real brand, whether it's a business brand or a personal brand. And so for me, like we started, you know, I really started focusing on building a brand with Price Plow content, not so much as on my personal. I want to get into that eventually later, but it's like kind of like you took that traffic, you ran with it. I took the money and I was able to quit my corporate job and I was able to do all this cool stuff. So it's, you know, it all went well for everyone, but you saw the long game and you dominated with it. So it's kind of fun, like watching this whole thing develop.
You got to give Chad Vortemeshi a lot of credit, man. He's a, you know, when it comes to managing the interior side of things and those things, like, you know, he knew you before I knew you. You know, I just came in and it was actually his idea to start a YouTube channel. You know, I didn't want to do it. Like after I sold Scivation, I just wanted to do back end stuff, right? Like I never did really front end. I did events and stuff. I had to, but my goal was always, if you know me personally and you do, I'm not a very public guy. Like people always make fun of me because I don't go out. You know, I go to the gym, I go to the hotel, and I go to my work, and I never do anything. So for me to actually come out and do videos at the beginning it was a learning curve. You know, I'm an extrovert. I'm nice to people, always strike up conversations, but I never had an intention of, I wasn't. And that's why when people say you're a YouTuber, I'm like, I'm a business guy who had to sell stuff. And that's really it. I mean, I had to get the word out. I was just talking to a scientist yesterday, a brilliant woman, and she has some great technology. And I'm like, well, you know, you could literally cure cancer, but if nobody knows about it, did you really cure cancer? And she's like, you know, you're right. Cause you know, she's very, you know, science people, like a lot of them just like to be in the lab. And I'm like, you just got to get out there. You got to market it. And so that's where I was. It was Chad's idea. He's like, YouTube is basically Google video. Just go do your thing. And yeah, it was a hell of a ride. And it's obviously, you know, talk about just evolving. Like you have to deal now with, you have Amazon, where back in the day, our biggest competition was bodybuilding.com.
Right.
And that was an easy flank. And I don't know if you know much about the rental car business, but what was it? Hertz was number 1, Avis was number 2. And their tagline was, yeah, we're number 2, but we try harder. And people are like, well, I'm going to get better. And then they focused on customer service. They focused on customer centricity. And essentially we copied Avis's model. And Chad had this freaking brilliant idea where bodybuilding.com on the top of their page had over 1 million orders shipped or some arbitrary number. It would go up like every month. And so Chad put, you're more than just a number here. Right there on the top of our site, trademarked it. And I'm like, okay, this guy's smart, you know?
He is.
And so I think that when looking at business partners, you got Ben right now. I'd love to get into your dynamic, but with Chad and I, it was always we're the same, like in some ways, like very family centric. Both played football. He played at a higher level. He was an outside linebacker for University of Cincinnati, absolute dog. And both of us had that. We had that kind of background in athleticism and sports. But he doesn't, you can't even get him to take a picture and post it on it. Like he is just completely introverted. Whereas I'm similar, but I was willing to get out and kind of be the face of the brand, or at least the spokesperson. And that's where it worked out well. Now with you and Ben, I'd love to get into that. You guys are a lot alike, but a lot different. How is the dynamic of that relationship?
It's fun. We're yin and yang because when we do an in real life podcast with everyone, like people always comment how seamlessly it worked, because when we have our like ticks and stuff where I know when he's got a question, he knows when I have a question and stuff, but it's kind of funny. Like when he doesn't have a question, I do have a question. When I don't have a question, he does. And it just works. So we have a really good yin and yang. I thought it was funny when he mentioned that I'm detail oriented and he's that. I think that's hilarious. Like if my wife heard that, she would just die, because like in the house, I'm a bit of a mess and everything. On the computer, I am relatively detail oriented, but it's almost like I'm forced to, because I am like the operator of this business and he is the face of it. And to be quite honest, I really don't want to be the operator of the business, and I'm going to be like finding operational help and everything. Like that's kind of what you wanted to do, and I understand that. But at the same time, it's a headache. And so Ben, you stick them on a project and it's going to get done incredibly well and everything. Yes. However, if you're working with PricePlow, if you want to get something done, like you got to go through Mike, and it's going to be a lot of emails, like, because I actually recently tracked this because I'm trying to like get a better process going on. Like for those who don't know, we have kind of shifted into we're content creators in the industry, and we have an educational media platform. And my personal interests have kind of veered. I'm more scientific. I can't figure that out. And my personal interests have geared more towards ingredient science and everything. So if you have a new ingredient to launch on the market, I honestly believe there's no better place to go than having Mike and his team do some writing, and Ben and his guys make videos about it. And we will get the word out about your ingredient, your new study, all that stuff. Not putting a pitch on. That's just like, that's what we do. We have a really cool, unique platform, and then we'll podcast about it, all that good stuff. But what I realize is if we're onboarding a new client, you got some new crazy, let's just say you have a new ketone type, product you want to onboard with us and everything. I realized that there's a 15-step process from A to Z to get your article, your video, and like the email alerts, the social media, all that done. And I am touching 13 of those 15 processes. It's killing me. I'm death by paper cuts right now. So what I need to do is I need to work smarter, not harder. And it's like, I've kind of just like, forced myself to do this, and it's like it's not going to scale. So right now we're looking at how I can better like scale this effort, because I have such bigger plans and everything. So it's funny, like Ben says I'm detail oriented. I don't think I am. I'm just forced to be. I really do consider myself a little bit more visionary and like forward thinking and stuff, but for the sake of like, you know, paying the bills and feeding the family and everything, I am doing a lot of I call it dink and dunk, like work and everything. And it's got to stop at some point. So we're going to be looking for some operational help, but also like just a better process in general. Like I shouldn't have to, you know, do an email for every last little thing. And, you know, it's kind of funny, but anyway, I do a lot of the paperwork and a lot of the sciencey stuff. And then Ben, he's got a really awesome skill of making things that are, let's just say, less interesting. Like obviously he can make an awesome video when a dude like gets indicted, or if something crazy happens, or if there's a really awesome study. That's easy. His trick though is that he can get people to engage on stuff that isn't interesting, like to most people. He makes it interesting because we find the hook, and we find we find the angle, but it only works. And this is where Ben gets a little bit, where Ben needs to have his creative freedom. It only works if you let us be creative. And when I say us, I mean Ben. Let him make a slightly controversial hook. Like we know the laws and everything. We know not to make claims and disease, all that stuff. We're not going to do that, but you have to engage people in. And I say, like, if you want your video to get seen, you need Instagram to have, incentives to show it to other people. And the incentive is like, this video is engaging and stuff. Even if it's like, we're not talking about millions of views here. We're not talking about Joe Rogan level podcast stuff. We're just talking about like getting into the 10,000 view kind of numbers. If it's a new ingredient, it's like an immunity ingredient, and we're able to do that, then that's a huge win. Ben's awesome at doing that. But sometimes as we get into the more and more professional companies that we're working with, they need to like review every little word. And you could tell when like it's a scripted video and Ben's like, he doesn't read from the script, but so like, that's kind of like this growing pain that we are dealing with, where it's like, we want to work with these really awesome buttoned up companies. Cause I'm, don't want to be working with, I like working with bro brands and everything, and like new pre-workout. But let's be honest, I've been writing and reading and writing about citrulline and beta-alanine and caffeine for like 15 years straight. I like to talk about new novel ingredient science, patents, all that stuff. But those companies are more buttoned up. They have regulatory, they have legal, they have scientific teams that need review. They need to let Ben get a little bit crazy. And so that's the balance that we're working on and everything. But either way, I provide Ben with this template. Usually when I'm doing research, we find something crazy that happened, and I'm like, dude, here's your hook. And then he makes it a better hook and everything. But that's kind of like how we work together. And then it's kind of weird. Like we go to trade shows, and in our world, like Supply Side Global, the ingredient trade show and everything. And we're like, again, when I say we, I mean a lot Ben. We're almost like celebrities at points. We're like, you can't walk with Ben. He's like becoming the face of the industry, to be quite honest. Yeah, you can't walk with Ben without 100 people noticing you. You will be late to the next meeting unless I'm like, dude, we got to go. Because like, I don't want to be late.
Giant. He's a big guy.
Yeah.
He can't hide. Like he's a large man. Like he stayed at my house a couple of years ago. It was actually the year that he was at the game where my daughter kicked the game winning in double overtime goal with 20 seconds left in double overtime versus the crosstown rivals. It was amazing. And so always have that memory with Ben, but Ben cannot hide.
No, definitely not.
He is a large man. Yeah,
especially at the ingredient shows. Okay, at Mr. Olympia, there's a bunch of big dudes and everything. At Supply Side Global,
small Chinese people.
Yeah, it's a bit more businessy and everything. So all that. But it was, by the way, at the GNC Global Conference, I do want to say it was great meeting your daughter for the first time. I kind of threw her off guard with my question. That I'd like to.
Fine.
What's that?
She's fine.
I can't believe
she lives with me. She lives with me, dude.
Yeah, that's true. But so for those listening, like what happened was, one of my personal arcs, so like let's call this like midlife crisis stuff and everything. I want to start I want to become a content creator on my own. I have a lot of things to say, and I don't want to like say I'm on PricePlow. I want to start doing my own stuff. And so when I talk about this, and we're like building a new house on 6 acres, I want to grow some stuff and like just do videos out whenever, and buy the plants and stuff. My daughter asked me, like, she's like, and she's 7.5 years old. She said, can I be in some of your videos? And like, we've always been like way more private with her. And so I always think about Cammie, and I'm like, and so I just went up to her and I said, hey, and this is like going to be like creepy, but a lot of us have seen her grow up, it's like, I was like, hey, like, I've known your dad for over 15 years and we've kind of seen your videos over time. And I was like, you were put on a lot of these videos without like necessarily having adult permission.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, did that like affect you or anything? Like, cause I don't know if I want to have my daughter on it or not. Like, was that a bad position? And she's like, wow, no one's ever asked me that before. And what was funny is that she thought about it for a second and kind of threw her off. And I was like, and then she said, I've had no adverse effects from it. And I was like, you are such a supplement person, like already. Because she said like, there's been no adverse. And so she really thought about it. And she's like, no, it's actually, if anything, it's been a help. It's like, not because dad got me something, but because like the comfort in this world. And I think like, you're not you consider yourself a private person. You're kind of thrust into this whole thing. Yeah. But I mean, look at where we are in like the course of humanity and civilization. There's never been a time where you can like put out a bit of information and like 8 billion people can get it 1 second later. Like,
wild. What
a tool. That's the craziest thing. We're like, if you have something to say, if you have something to get out there, even if you only want to get it out there like to 20 people, there's no better time or no better tool to do it. So it's like, I think introverts need to, if you have something to say, then build it up and get it out there. Cause like this tool is here. And if you don't use it, the space is going to get wasted by a bunch of other knuckleheads. So that's kind of like what I've kind of put in my head, but then like the whole, the Cami component and like the family and everything, like, and she's like, we are never really like a YouTube family or something. It was more like her trying out your, like, your whey protein flavors and stuff like that. Yeah. So I thought that was really cool. But anyway, it was like really cool talking to her because she's like obviously extremely intelligent. And I can only hope my daughter can like speak that well when she's her age and everything. So like kudos to you for that, by the way. Man,
she was again, like Ambrosia, she worked the Arnold with us, and Adam, who you met, our president, he's like, Can Cami come? I'm like, she's an adult, man. I can't just tell her where to go now.
That's true.
And you're gonna have to pay her. Like she's not working for free. I taught her too well for that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, all that stuff's good about stuff getting out really quick to 8 billion people, unless you're the CEO of Astronomer. That is
I don't like to get involved in the current thing, but I gotta say, man, like that one, I got sucked in for an afternoon. Just like for one day, the internet came together and we all collectively like set our differences aside and we just hated on these two people all together. It was so funny.
It was uniting. It was like 9/11. The country finally came together for one common goal.
One common goal is to like hate on this HR people and the sociopath CEO or whatever it is. And it was kind of, I don't know, it was kind of beautiful. My wife was like, all they had to do was pretend like it was normal and no one would have noticed. They would have just moved on. But him falling out, ducking down, and her covering her face, he's like, oh, that's adultery. And I'm like, this is very clear what's going on here. But in the moment, it would be tough to like actually play it off unless you truly were a dog. And I just don't think these people were. So stupid. I don't know. I wouldn't know. I don't want to, I'm like no longer reading about it or anything. I'm done with it or anything, but it's like, I'm almost in a way glad that a little bit of pain has been inflicted on people who are doing wrong for their families. As mean as that is to say.
And that's what they deserve for going to see Coldplay. Like,
that's the best part of the joke. The whole thing, like if it was at any other concert, it would be like less hilarious, but that just makes it like 10 times more hilarious.
Matt Walsh, I listen to Matt Walsh. It's just the only show I listen to pretty regularly. And he's like, it's like out of all this, it's like the worst thing is they went to a Coldplay concert. Like the way he delivers things, I'm like, okay, that was funny. It's the internet is a great thing. And I think we've gotten more good than bad from it. And I think that everybody's afraid of AI. I'm obviously afraid of Terminator. Like they get their own mind, they end up taking over the world. Mm-hmm. But if you utilize AI for what it does, it's essentially, from what I see now, going beyond robotics and operating things, I'm looking from just an information gathering standpoint. Mm-hmm. It's a super Google where you can get information in a very consumable form very fast. And I think that's also, and if you've ever used AI for graphics, it's not going to replace graphic designers. Mm-mm. Like it still can't spell words. Like even if I put a bottle, say, make a graphic image, somehow it turns the words into some illegible whatever.
It's gotten better on that, but I know.
If you utilize it, and again, here's where I look at Chat GPT and all the different AIs. If you don't use it, that's when you're going to be left behind. Right? Like you need to use, I'm not saying kids need to plagiarize their reports, but what I used to use, I've used Grammarly for years. Every email I send that's professional. I'm not talking about when I'm emailing like you and Rob, like, hey guys, what's for lunch? No. When I'm emailing a customer or a prospect, I always make this better on ChatGPT, and the cheat code, I'm giving you guys my cheat code, and it's my words. I wrote the email. But I run it through. It takes out any potential for grammatical errors. It puts in the right tense of words. And I think those are things you could use. I'm not doing anything. I've done this with Grammarly since Grammarly came out. And this is just a more advanced Grammarly. It's faster. It doesn't cost money. So I really think that utilizing AI is going to be huge. Are you guys currently utilizing AI for your business?
There's a little bit. I've given it some tries with stuff. And so on the scientific end, there's a lot of garbage in, garbage out. And if you ask it to like write you a paragraph about L-citrulline and do some citations, it's going to spew out some totally
Crazy.
wrong citations. And sometimes the science, usually the basic science is right. There's sometimes some small mistakes about what happened in a study, and then it'll give you a terrible reference. So no, it's not good enough for just general stuff, but it is like really good for me, like a gut check on something, or also if I don't know what to search for, I will use it. So like, for instance, my daughter came in and she was asking, she's into sewing and stuff. She's pretty artistic. And she asked me to like tie a knot in a specific way. And it's like, I don't even know. And like, I wasn't a Boy Scout. I don't know knots, So I was like, I don't even know what type of knot I'm searching for. So I described the situation to ChatGPT and I say, what is the knot I need? And it, and it gives me a YouTube video of the exact knot I need. I didn't even know this, like the name of this knot existed. So it's like, when I know what I don't know, those are the spots where it's like incredibly useful. Now we have occasionally, what I think what Ben will do sometimes is that he'll put my articles through through one of the AI tools, and he'll ask for like a script or a hook, but we tear those things up. And like, as someone who does a lot of writing, like the email, I'll never run in my emails through ChatGPT because I've tried and I'm like, that's not my voice. It'll never be my voice. Like I have a very particular way, I guess, of writing. And so that's not for me, but we're definitely using it as like, for the gut checks and to like double check data type stuff. And there is a tool for instead of Grammarly for editing, I think it's called Edit GPT.
Yes.
And so this tool is, I bought it as an annual fee or whatever, and it does a good job. You can like even refine the prompt that it gives it, and it does a really good job on editing. So we have, so basically Edit GPT is a pretty good editor. As far as like going any further than that, not yet. Behind the scenes, we're doing like a lot of price matching stuff, and we still have the original price comparison site. And if there's a new flavor of a certain product or whatever, like our system will capture it. And we are not using AI tools. Now here's one reason why, and I don't want to do it, is because my dad, who's retired, he does a lot of the product management in the background, and so I pay him an hourly rate and everything. And honestly, it gives us something to bond over. And he just is blown away by like, he's like, who's buying all this stuff? There's so many products out there. I'm like, it's a big industry, Dad.
Somebody's buying it, man. These TikTok brands, you see the numbers they're doing. And I mean, it's just wild how many more verticals there are for nutrition. And, looking at the ingredients side, it's like, I had no idea that vertical existed. Holy crap. Yeah. It's wild. And the internet has opened the opportunity for brands to enter the verticals, also vertical specific brands. You look at TikTok, you look at Amazon only brands. I mean, you're just seeing a whole plethora of things, and soon you'll see X do the same thing. They're going to have a marketplace. I know Elon's going to roll that out where they're going to have an Amazon competitor.
Right.
I mean, he's going to do it. I mean, that was the reason for changing the name to X. It's the everything app. Mm-hmm. So obviously shopping is going to be on there. But, steering into kind of industry focus kind of things, I think a lot of us get really enamored with certain ingredients. Like I remember when Velocitol came out, and I read the initial. I put in a protein bar, I put it in a coffee additive, I put it in an intra workout. I think when can you not use this ingredient? And you look at the outlay of what's kind of come out. We do have some really fascinating things. Like I think NNB and Sean did a great job of paraxanthine. I think a lot of brands have jumped on. Cognizant has been around for dozens of years, and it just now hit this like peak where everybody's using Cognizant. They have some good, structure function claims on that. It's a fantastic ingredient.
That's because they're working with PricePlow too, right?
Yeah, I think so.
That's right. We love them. Yeah,
I think so. So just looking at, do you feel that we've kind of seen a resurgence in these branded, study-backed, structure function claim-backed products, ingredients, unlike we've ever seen? I think we're there. I think we're getting very innovative with ingredients.
Absolutely. Okay. So, I mean, there's a lot to unpack here. From a mile high view, the thing that the answer is yes and everything, like brand ingredients. The people that we know that are absolutely crushing it, murdering it in terms of business are IP holders. So if you have a very, very novel and defensible and non-obvious idea, like getting a patent may be worth the trouble. It's going to cost money. It's going to cost time. You're going to need science.
Or 100 or so of them.
Yeah. But like but once you have a patent, you can really start putting efforts into it because you can defend it and everything. And so we've seen how that works out. And a lot of people may or may not like it, but like this is just the state of the world right now, is that having a patent allows you like the breathing room to start running research and everything. So we've definitely seen this, and these are the companies that are also the ones who are buttoned up and professional that I like to work with too. So like maybe, my view is slanted and everything, but then now these companies are also I call it too big to get sued. Cognizant's going to be very, very pure CDP choline because the Japanese are not going to allow themselves to fail here. So there is a level of trust. Just because something's patented and trademarked doesn't mean that it's going to be 100% on spec, but chances are it is. And so there's been a great thing. Now, like taking a step back further, like one thing that no one's talking about that I'm starting to bring up on our podcast is that there's this whole new way of making ingredients that are coming out. Like traditionally you had chemical synthesis, like just straight up chemistry. And then you had extraction. So you get you get the plant and you extract the actives out of it. However, what's happening now is this third thing called fermentation or precision fermentation. Mm-hmm. And I think no one knows about this, or not enough people are talking about it. And I'm kind of just trying to put it out there. And it's not my job to, if people know me enough, they'll know I have opinions and stuff. But in terms of Price Plow's news coverage, it's not my job to get my opinion out there. It is our job to get information out there and allow the brands to formulate and allow the consumers to decide what they want to, put in their bodies and what they don't want to put in their bodies and what they want to do with their lives. Okay. So that's kind of one thing where I've kind of changed. With Price Plow is not my personal platform anymore, in my opinion, despite being a majority owner and everything. Yeah. Now, with that said, what is happening is a lot of these ingredients are being created with precision fermentation. And we had a really good episode with Laura Katz of Helena on, and what they're doing is that they take either it's a yeast in this case. You could get like a yeast, a bacteria, a microbe of some sort, and you can genetically modify this bacteria or this yeast. In this case, in the case of this lactoferrin ingredient called Afera, it is a yeast, I'm pretty sure. And so you genetically modify it, and it will and you feed it the right stuff, and it will output or excrete, or whatever word you want to use, it'll output your active ingredient. And it'll do it and then you clean it out, purify, get rid of the yeast itself, and you have an extraordinarily pure ingredient. Now, this is happening. We're changing. So we're basically changing the genetics of these microbes or yeast or bacteria, and we're getting them to give us active ingredients. It is crazy. And no one is even talking about this. And so that's like kind of what's happening. Now, what's really cool about this Afera lactoferrin, for instance, is that they are using it to provide us a bioequivalent of human lactoferrin. Because normally, if you go buy a lactoferrin supplement, you're going, and I'm a huge believer in this I use it and all that stuff. If you get bovine lactoferrin, which is what I'm currently using most of the time, you're going to have to get that from cow's milk, which requires a ton of milk. And it's not exactly the same molecule or same protein. It's an iron binding protein. It's not the same protein as the human one. So we're taking this cow's one and we get a slight immune reaction. Like, your immune system kind of got to clean it up a little bit. So but the stuff is still fantastic, even if you take bovine lactoferrin. Yeah. This Helena company, they're like, well, what if we genetically modify this yeast over here and make human lactoferrin? And that's what they're doing. And so this is happening here. They're out loud about it, but there are other ingredients out there that are created through this precision fermentation that you don't even know. And so and it depends on the country here, and this is something that I think needs to be better, like, explained and everything. But if the resulting ingredient has no GMO like parts in it anymore, it's all been cleaned out, filtered, processed, and all that, you can call it non-GMO in America, not in every country. However, the process is very GMO.
It's super GMO, but I think I'm not adverse to GMO. I'm not anti-GMO. I think for a large portion of, you need to feed people. I mean, it is what it is. Yeah. So that's where you're at. But yeah, I do see that 100%. And I remember the word fermentation came in when I launched Extend in 2004. And at that time, I don't know. See, I didn't know that human hair and duck feathers. I didn't even know that was an option until someone's like, is this from human hair? I'm like, huh? That's a thing. Apparently they're shaving a bunch of Chinese people and synthesizing their hair. I mean, because it was from China, right? So I'm like, no, ours is fermented. And so the fermentation, I believe a lot of the talk about fermentation came when, I don't know if you remember, Axis Labs did that when they came out with their branch chain, of course, after I did, because I was kind of first. When they came out with theirs, they were, they were essentially like, they did this scare tactic of it's human hair and duck feathers and all this crazy stuff it came from. And I bought, millions, tens of millions of dollars of BCAA in my life. I don't think I've ever seen human hair as a source. It was always from fermentation, but what a brilliant marketing scheme. I mean, I was mad that I didn't come up with it because I was like, dude, that is brilliant. I don't even know where they're getting this human hair BCAA, but I guess it could come from that. And but that's when fermentation became like a word because Axis Labs, and that was Chris Gatkis was the owner at the time. If I'm not
never
mistaken.
met him. I met some of their sales guys, but yeah, I don't know.
Great guy. I believe it was Chris. I believe he has a brother. That's why I get him confused. And man, it was brilliant. It actually helped our sales with Extend because, well, I mean, we didn't like, hey, you use human hair? No, we don't. And then we'd email accounts like, by the way, we don't use human hair either. So, it brought it out to the forefront. Again, I don't know if there was one human hair branch chain on the market, but fermentation kind of came to the forefront. And I'm just really excited about where we're going. I think NNB is doing a great job with ingredients. I think there's a lot of companies out there that are just doing a good job with IP. And with IP, you really need to have your studies. Like you need to have your structure function claims because that's what people are buying. What claims can I make? What claims can I legally make? Is there a weight loss claim? Is there an energy claim? Is there a cognition claim? So looking at all those, and then you have international patents. It's a huge game. And I used to look at it completely differently with IP. I was like, oh man, they're holding the patent, now I have to pay more. Do people understand how much studies cost? Like studies you're looking at 7 figures sometimes to do a well-controlled study. So these IP holders, they deserve every dime they're getting for that. And that's where I look at it. And you obviously you're dealing with a ton of your customers are IP.
Yeah. I mean, I don't go, I'm not going to blanket defend every single one of them or everything, but I get it. I mean, that's you like don't hate the player, hate the game if you don't like it. Like that is what it's going to do. But if every single person could make this ingredient, then you're basically relying on the government or a university or some really generous donor to fund a study on something. And that, this is how it is in pharmaceutical and this is how it is in dietary supplements. And so in dietary supplements, I mean, for better or for worse, are kind of like the redheaded stepchild of the pharmaceutical industry as it is. Yeah. So it is, I think it could be used to hold things back, but the companies that we're working with are using it to move things forward. And so that's kind of like a thing that Ben and I are kind of hard on is like, we want to like work with the good guys. We don't want to work with people that are, getting in trouble and making us look bad. And Ben is way, like you guys talked about this a lot. Ben's way more defensive of the industry than I am. But at the same time, like, yeah, we don't want to like be highlighting every embarrassment or working with people who aren't doing the right stuff. And so we have been like, fortunate enough to have built this platform where we can choose when and when not to work with someone. And that's a glorious thing. And like getting back to the whole, like needing a better process. It's at the point now where I don't know, you get excited when you make a new sale or bring on a new client or whatever.
Yeah.
I get more stressed because I know it's like, oh, there's another 13 out of the 15 steps for me to do and everything. And I want to enjoy my summer in the
bills,
sun.
Man. You got to provide. You got a family. Like it's no longer just an engineering student coming out trying to make some extra coin. Now you got an entire organization to support.
Yeah, they can eat ramen. They're okay. I want to enjoy my summer in the sun. So no, we're working on all that and everything. So no, but yeah, I do like working with the ingredient companies a lot. And also like I speak that language, I love a new study. Even and this is one thing that's cool about our demographic. We used to like hate on preclinical means like an animal trial. We used to hate on like mouse studies and stuff. Like, no, give me all the data. Cause like we need to get mechanisms out of this stuff. And so you can get the, do in vitro data first, then give us some animal data. And then eventually, you're going to need a human clinical trial. Like there's some ingredients out there that have been sold for way too long that don't have human trials on them. And those I'm like starting to roll my eyes on. But at the same time, most companies go through this process of starting small and then building up to the human trial. And while some people may roll their eyes on the animal trial, like our viewers are cool with it because we've kind of trained them to say like, okay, here's what we learned. There's a mechanism that we're learning here that we are not going to split some dude's head open to learn that mechanism, So you take advantage of what you get from these mouse trials. But eventually the whole idea is that we want a human trial. And when it's an ingredient that is like locked up with the patent, there's a higher chance you're going to get a human trial. And
because they want to support that IP and they want people to use that ingredient. And I actually got in trouble with Greg Doucette because here's the thing. He's moving and I like Greg. Look, personally, I wish we had a falling out because I was honest. I did a video saying, look, here's some data on people from Uzbekistan, right? Is it Uzbekistan? I did a whole video and I'm like, look, they sent me the data and I translated it into English. And I'm like, here's what the data says. Very small studies, like 6 to 10 people with either diabetes mellitus, which is diabetes, or anemia. And it showed promising results. But then Dr. Jose Antonio, he's like, well, I'm going to run a study. And he used the lowest dose. It wasn't a long study, but he self-funded it. So Jose's just like, I want to figure this out because he's a scientist.
Right.
And it came out, did nothing. So I did a video on that. And then Greg got pissed at me and said that I put Jose up to it or I paid for it. I'm not paying for a freaking study on an ingredient. So that's when I look at something like turkesterone and I got to assume. So here's the thing I had with Extend, people are like branch chains don't work. And I'm like, I think they do. So I funded that study and you could look it up right now. I could post in the notes. And it was in 2009. And we actually had 36 total people, which is all we could afford. Like more people, more money.
That's a decent size for a supplement study. I mean, we're not 12, big pharma people,
12 people in each group. And it was double blind. And I did 2 organizations, Weider Research Institute and the College of Charleston with Dr. Timothy Sheet. The other scientist, Dr. Jim Stepani. You guys might know Dr. Jim Stepani. So the 3 groups, one was a branch chain group, one was a whey group, and one was a controlled placebo group, which was Gatorade, all standardized for 14 grams of each. And the whey in the study was actually the whey made by Scivation. It was our own brand. So the fascinating thing is the control group gained 0 pounds, lost 0 pounds of fat, gained 1 pound of lean mass. The whey group gained 4 pounds of lean mass, lost 2 pounds of fat. The branch chain group gained 9 pounds of lean mass and lost 4 pounds of fat. And when we looked at these results, neither the researchers or me believed them. That's when the study was done right. Now, could it have been a fluke? Yeah. Am I going to repeat the study? Hell no. I don't sell branch chains anymore. If you want, I do, but it's not something worth spending $500K on, right? Like, so I'm like, all right, we're just going to take that for what it's worth. So what I look at with the turkesterone guys like Greg, like Derek, more plates, more dates. If this thing's making you as much money as I think it is, why not put it to the test, fund your own study, use your own research lab, go to any of that, go to Ziegenfuss, go to Willoughby. He doesn't like Antonio. Don't go to Jose, because Jose actually reports the truth. Well, not that the other guys don't, but that's what Jose did. He reported the truth of what he found. That's where we get into trouble, is when the industry makes baseless claims and they don't back it up with data and they make definitive statements and they go off pure anecdote. And that's where I get in trouble, because I will say, no, that's not right. And turkesterone is like herpes, right? When you think it goes away, it flares back up. Every 5 or 6 years, turkesterone or ectosterone. I know I sold ectosterone in 2006 with a product called Antigen. And I'll tell you what, it worked if you took 6 grams. They're not providing 6 grams of active, by the way, not full. So I was taking like 20 fucking pills a day because it was my product. I can afford it. So that's where we get kind of muddied.
Yeah. I think, okay. Lots to go over here. So my conspiracy theory on the Stepani study is that one or more outliers jumped on the sauce during that study or something and just blew up
all
and
in one
threw up
group,
all the numbers. That's kind of like what I think happened.
All
but
in one group? Like there were 3
I don't
groups.
know.
I mean, look, man, if I don't care anymore, right? Like it doesn't bother me, but I've tried to pick apart my own study and I can't. I mean, I just can't. And it's published. It's literally a published study. So it's like, I look, man, there could have been I would think there would be, because those results are stupid good. I mean, I don't believe the study myself, but what it did show is there's reason to believe that they might help. And I'm not going to make any outlandish claims. I'm not even going to claim what the study said, gained 9 pounds of lean mass in 12 weeks. That's wild.
I mean, those aren't natty gains in my opinion. That's just seeing those numbers. That's kind of what I was thinking.
I haven't gained that. I haven't made those gains on steroids, Mike, to think that that's going to come from brand. But again, like the data is there and the study does need repeating. So for any of these brands who are focusing on branch changes, I encourage you to redo that study because we need to see what it really does. You can't judge things off of one study. Obviously, look at the study I did, right? I tried.
Yeah, so I think that was posted in that was in the proceedings of the 6th International Society for Sports Nutrition. We went to the ISSN conference a couple of years ago. We didn't go this past year or anything, but
I didn't either.
There a couple of years ago, there was a woman, I forget her name, and they did an independent study on testosterone and found squat. So it was kind of an interesting presentation, but not that interesting because it wasn't surprising or anything. But I think there might be something in there, but yeah, like you said, it's going to need to be a very high dose, very pure extract. And there's not a lot of these companies are like really serious about purity at the ingredient level. When you're talking about like an ingredient like that just like comes and goes and gets a lot of hype on TikTok and everything. So, and if you're going to take the high dose, I mean, you really have to, dude, okay, I'm a lifelong natty. I like you and me kind of like go in different directions on some of this stuff, but at some point, like you're taking so much of this plant herb, everything you put in your body, your liver is going to have to deal with. And at some point, just go on the sauce or just like get on it, talk to Dr. Kamsapa, go on enclomiphene or something if you're like worried about having kids later or something like that. But at some point, trying to stay quote unquote natural is going to become more dangerous than doing what like millions of people are safely doing. And I say this as like a pretty like very rigid natty person. Like everything is going to have, there's no free lunch. Okay. But your lunch is possibly, if you go with like some of these science-based methods of like a lower dose of TRT or enclomiphene or something like that, then at least I think we know what's going to happen to you in your liver and we can monitor that. Whereas if you're taking like 6 grams of testosterone just because you don't want to inject yourself or because you don't want to go to the doctor, I honestly, at some point it becomes very stupid. And so that's where I'm at is like, I like to sit in a nice position where I could just hate on everyone. And it's, and so that's where I'm at. But it's at some point, like, dude, just, I don't know. These herbs are not all, just because it's natural doesn't mean it's healthy and safe. Like I can wreck you with herbs. I know exactly how to do it and I would never do it, but it's like you start digging into this research enough and it's like, oh, wow, this is a long-term going to punish the liver. And once the liver fails, everything else, like whatever your next weakest link downstream, it's going down. And so
absolutely.
So people like in their 20s, they don't take this stuff seriously. And then all of a sudden, you know, in their 30s, like the wheels start falling off and everything. And it's like, I'm here being the biohacker who does less stuff. And I'm like the weird one now because, and it is a, you know, in the supplement industry, we are generally a very additive industry because like you sell more stuff or whatever. And as I've gotten older, I realize that I become more subtractive with a lot of stuff. Like I have a pretty limited subset of foods that I like to eat and I keep it pretty basic because I know exactly like what's affecting my body. And I'm working on a couple things. I share all my blood work publicly, by the way, and everything.
Same.
And,
I've done that for years.
Yeah. I love it. I got a whole spreadsheet. I'm down to share it all the time. And it's like, what I've noticed, I'm kind of ranting now, but what I've noticed, like with guys our age at the gym, and I'm here in Oklahoma. So there's a lot of really hardworking guys out here.
Oh yeah. Blue collar.
Yeah. A lot of blue collar, a lot of oil industry and everything. But at the gym, I've become like, we're like quote unquote middle-aged now, which is like crazy and everything. Cause I still feel young.
Shut up, Mike.
But I'm like, well,
kids,
you know,
technically I'm call me old.
Yeah, technically I'm middle-aged, man. And so anyway, what I see with the people who are still our age at the gym there's like kind of two directions that I've noticed, at least out here, is you have the guys who jump on the sauce, do TRT, and are getting after it. And like, I'm all for it. And then there's the other path of the guys who actually look healthy, I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And then you have the guys who are like the sun bros, who are out getting the sun, doing the sauna, doing the natural, like quote unquote natural type diet, and
sun tanning their taint.
Exactly. And I kind of, minus the taint stuff, I actually go in the second direction. Like I get a lot of sun and I feel great from it and everything. And like, that's kind of my direction and everything. But man, like, if you are just going with the mainstream and you're like working the 9 to 5 and you're eating the slop and you're watching the Netflix and you're just not taking care of yourself, it will add up and it will start crushing you by your 30s, and by your 40s, you're done. And like, so there's only two of us. There's only two types in the gym. It's like guys like you and guys like me. And I want people to be healthy and happy and reproductive and all that stuff. And that's kind of just the direction I see once we get to our age. I don't really see much of a middle ground.
Absolutely. I've always been in the don't die camp, and I never took bodybuilding where I have done better. I mean, I can't fix my shape, but I mean, then I look at when I got my pro card, dude, the guy I beat who came in second overall was 60 pounds heavier than me and was just as lean. Jeez. So I did have decent shape. I don't really care, because I'm 44 and I feel better than I did in my 20s.
Right.
You know, I'm very happy with the health choice I made. I'm very happy I didn't make those decisions to, increase the dose or go on a crazy cycle or anything like that. And getting back to like simplifying supplements, what I've found is, what can I take that does more stuff? What one ingredient can I take which has these multitude of actions in the body? And that's where it's really fascinating. I'm going to bring this up, is beta hydroxybutyrate, or BHB.
It. Yeah.
And so that ingredient fascinates me every day. Just the other month in May, there was a study that came out that it was 1.9 grams before bed, improved all quality markers of sleep. And then you have new data coming on cognition, on energy. You have energy drinks that literally replace caffeine with it. You have there's products out there that utilize it in kidney health formulations. This nephrologist out of Santa Barbara, California, Santa Barbara Nutrients, utilizes BHB as its main driver in a formula for people with, kidney problems. You're looking at the whole realm of nephrology. And this is something that is being put into clinics and used in people with these really bad kidney disorders. And then you look at its applications for heart health, for brain health, its applications. It's in a product called Concussion 911, which is actually taken post-concussion. Speaking with NFL teams, teams are looking into it as preventative.
They're dumb not to be honest.
Yeah. Every sports team, from Little League, because it does have safety data in children as well as adults, from Little League to junior high to high school to professional to whatever it is, should be supplementing with at least 5 to 10 grams of BHB per day, just for the brain part of it, just for the brain part. And then you look at the other effects. You look at its initial claims are on weight management, fat loss, and lean to fat gain and loss. That's the crazy thing, is that you take something simple that is your body's bioidentical ketone, you get all these benefits. What have you seen in looking at ketones? I talk about them a lot. Obviously, I'm in love with them. It's literally, it's the most fascinating thing. I was one of the first to use it outside of the ketogenic diet, but I think that was the wrong application. I think the main application is when you have the dual fuel with glucose.
Yeah, Mark, let me, you're stealing my lines here. So, okay. So everyone knows I'm a reformed low carb dieter. And I did go down the keto rabbit hole. A lot of videos that I made back in 2016, 17, maybe 18, where I was trying different amino acids and seeing how they affected my blood sugar and ketone scores and stuff. So like, and those videos did really well. So I got into that stuff, and honestly, regrettably so, because while I was becoming insulin resistant, carbs were not the problem. And so this is like one of my larger personal areas of exploration. Like, why are we becoming insulin resistant? Like my ancestors, I'm Italian, if you didn't notice, my ancestors have eaten plenty of grains. And why is it only all of a sudden that we've become fat and insulin resistant from them?
Yeah, so Mediterranean diet, in my opinion, is still the best diet. I love the Mediterranean diet.
As long as it's beef heavy. You know, they say some
yeah.
people translate Italy into the land of young cattle. And I'm not sure if that's 100% proven, but that's like an old translation. So I'm running with it and everything. So anyway,
I did not know that. My wife's Italian, so.
Nice. So anyway, I started testing out these keto diet supplements, which had BHB in it. And then that just pulled me into the keto rabbit hole because the truth is, if you're fasting hard enough, and the truth for me at least is, if I'm fasting hard enough and I go into a ketogenic state naturally, man, the focus, it feels good. Like ketones feel really good. And especially if you've been running on sugar your whole life, it is a sweet change up. However, to me, like that is, like you said, the wrong application. So let's say I am way overweight, I've become insulin resistant or like diabetic or something like that. Then yeah, I do think that you need to go on a low carb diet, because you're not handling carbs anymore for many reasons that we don't need to get into right now. It's take too long to talk about my theories. But the fact is that it's like a biohack. It's a cool hack, but it's not like, to me, it's not the end all be all of that keto diet. And eventually it gets stupid. If you're on a high fat diet, like that's also not that great for your liver. And along with fat, like animal fats, plant fats, along with the fats come fat soluble toxins that are hard to excrete and everything too. So like there's problems with eating gobs and gobs of fat and everything, but ketones do feel good. So we start selling these ketones to keto dieters, but it's like keto dieters they already got plenty of fat on their bodies, and they already are making their own ketones. If anything, giving exogenous ketones to someone in ketosis is telling them, hey, you don't need to make any. I think there's one study showing this. It's basically telling your body, hey, you don't need to burn any more fat and make ketones until you burn off these too. You know, so it's like it's not the right platform. Where it is best is giving it to a regular person on carbohydrates and then giving them some extra boost. And that's where Ben and I really do get excited about this, because mixing carbs and ketones is like the true biohack that I think is for performance, and it feels good. And there's a lot of, I believe that there will be some performance gains to be made from there, especially, I did this during my last 2 mile open water swim and everything. And after that, what's more important to me is not just having the second fuel source, but also getting the right mix of electrolytes with it, because a lot of the keto supplements, a lot of the ketone salts, if you're using a powder, they're going to be sodium, calcium, magnesium, maybe some potassium. A lot of people are already getting plenty of sodium, and a lot of people are potassium deficient. Too much magnesium will make you go to the bathroom, but a lot of people are magnesium deficient too. Yep. And I'm kind of on the air on how much calcium we really need. I'm not, I think the RDA is too high in that. But either way, so you got to figure out your ratios so you don't cramp up and everything. But the ketones feel great. But how cool is it that you could take them without having to go on a stupid high fat diet that you don't need? Now, the reason I call it stupid, at least for me, is because I'm already like I'm not on the smaller, like, I guess it's just like I'm under muscled. Let's just say I'm not like massive swolio bro. And I'm cool to say that at this age, especially. And so by going on the traditional high fat, low carb, moderate to low protein diet in order to get my ketone levels high enough, I went too low in protein and I lost muscle mass that is very hard to get. You've talked about Benjamin Bickman. He's been on this. We had an episode, it's like 13, or I forget what episode on the Price Plow podcast, real early. We were talking about how ketones are very healthy for muscle health and everything, are very good for muscle health. And he made a mention. He's like, well, if you're in your 30s and you go too low in protein, you might you might lose muscle and it's going to be tough to get back. And in that moment, it like hit me like a bag of bricks. And I was like, oh dude, he just described me. And like, I hope I can get that muscle back. And anyway, so I am away from that. I am more on the high carb side because I've kind of solved some of my problems and everything. And I just love white rice too. So I could eat white rice, beans, and beef all day long. And
white rice just absorbs the flavor of everything. It's a catch-all. You put ground beef on top of it and it just becomes a delicacy. Whereas you eat ground beef alone, you're like, what is this, dog food? Like what?
That's the true sign of a psychopath, in my opinion. If they just eat regular ground beef out of a bowl and like maybe some salt and nothing else, like that's, to me, that's crazy.
I need it formed into burger patties if I'm going to do that. Yeah. Like that, that's when you have to break out the Traeger.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, one of the things I've shifted gears on over the last 4 years or so is fiber. And so a lot of the keto / carnivore dieters are anti-fiber. there's just too much quality data on it, especially like just binding to a lot of the toxins and helping with the stool, all that stuff. Like we got to poop and everything. And so finding the right beans that work for you is a massive game changer for me.
Yes.
And then like I can eat X amount of just ground beef alone, kind of boring, salted up or whatever. Add the rice, I could probably like almost double it. If I add beans to that, I could nearly triple my intake. And as someone who's like on the smaller side and like sometimes I want to like gain some weight, that's the beans are some sort of like extra thing for me. And then so like with that though, I've tried to work on like metabolic flexibility so that I'm not only relying on carbs, because then you have like the swings and everything.
Yep.
But the ketones definitely are a fun little, they're a fun hack that I think the people are going to figure out, because we are getting basically capped on caffeine. At some point, like there's only so many energy drinks you could drink. What's next? What do you do at 4 p.m.? You know, if I drink a lot of caffeine after 4 p.m., it's going to be a rough time. What's the next thing you do? You go to ketones. If you need a little afternoon pick me up, that's not going to ruin your sleep. And in fact, like you said, there's studies showing it'll improve the sleep. So there is a lot of good stuff coming out. And I'm happy that this time around, we're not pointing it at keto dieters. If you're a keto dieter and you love it, like good, like I'm not gonna hate. It's not totally for me. I don't think you need to take more ketones though. Like go burn your own fat, make your own ketones.
I think it can help. I think it can help, especially in the beginning stages when you're switching fuel sources. I think it can help dramatically when your body's shifting the energy source. For me, it's like this morning I did forget to take my BHB, and I was like, it was like 1 p.m. I'm like, what the hell's wrong with me?
Yeah, you are talking less than you did in the Ben podcast. I'm also not letting you.
I'm being a good host. I don't shut up all day. It's what I do. So but there's just the once you take them consistently, and if you miss a dose, like my daughter, she's been taking them, and we went somewhere, and she's like, she went to work, forgot to take them. She's like, I felt like crap all day. Then I realized, I forgot to put in my morning shake, because I usually just put, some powder in my morning shake and I'm good to go. You were talking about the evening training. That's where I think the biggest opportunity is for it. Yeah. Because 35% of people who train after 5 p.m.
Right.
So when you train in the evening, you have to make a decision.
Yep.
Do I want to have a good workout, or do I want to sleep well? Because your caffeine is going to keep you up. Like studies are showing that if you drink caffeine past like 1 p.m., it messes up your sleep. So you got to determine sleep quality or a good workout. But we've seen, like with the proliferation of energy drinks like Rev 7, Reaction Energy is another drink. Drinkreaction.com, I think, is the site where they're using BHBs. They put caffeine in it too, but you're seeing it actually as an adjunct or a replacement for caffeine and energy drinks, which is fascinating to see. And people are getting the buzz because it's cellular energy. It's not stimulant energy. Right. It's a different thing.
And and so like, if you can't tell, I view a lot of health through the lens of liver health. Yeah. Is it good for my liver or not? And a lot of the dietary supplement ingredients, if you really, really like look at it, they're not. And it's at least more work. Every new chemical is more work for your body to have to deal with. And so you got to look at BHB from that same lens, and you start seeing data that it actually helps your liver make ATP and is supportive of liver health. And so like from that lens, when I saw that, I was like, really starting to get into this liver health type stuff. And I was like, oh, good. Like BHB's in. So I guess my question back to you is what electrolyte ratios are you using? If you're putting a powder in, are you using like the sodium, potassium, calcium?
So I make it where the magnesium is not too high. I can't give exact dosage because I can't remember them. I'd have to bring something up I have to bring up something on my computer. But basically I like to set sodium around 500 and then have the others kind of fall in where the magnesium is not too high and the potassium's complementary. So depending on the dosing, it's easy to do. But if I'm doing a pre-workout and I don't have caffeine, I'm putting 10 grams of that. I'm putting 10 grams of BHB and and you can make it work with 10 grams. You can make the minerals work. So, because you have 4 to play with. Yeah. So you can just divide it up and make it work. And if the sodium, honestly, pre-workout, I see nothing wrong with a gram of sodium pre-workout.
Absolutely. Oh, geez.
Especially if you're actually working out. Like I go to the gym. So here's a funny story. And this is not what you'd expect. And this is totally off tangent. So I obviously my youth performance facility is in Carbon Performance. It's Legacy of Carbon. And just, because I travel a lot, I got a Lifetime. Everywhere I go, there's a Lifetime Fitness. Right. And I'm like, I was in New York and I'm like, there's a Lifetime and they don't do guest passes anymore. I'm like, damn it. I have to go to this little crappy hole in the wall gym. So I'm like, cool. So there's a Lifetime like 7 minutes from my house. When you go to a hardcore gym or a serious gym like Carbon, and again, there's people who train, but most people are they have their little tripods. They're doing their social hour. You go to Lifetime Fitness and they're mostly like guys like us, guys who are, making decent money. They have to afford the membership. It's expensive. And they're executives or they're people with jobs. Bro, they train harder at Lifetime Fitness. I'm not playing. Like these people are getting at it. The women, they're like middle-aged women just crushing it. Like they're training harder than these. Well, the reason the girls at the real gyms, the serious gyms, can't train hard is because they're wearing such little clothes that their body parts will fall out of them. I mean, I'm at the point in my life where I'm going to get caught staring. Because I'm not thinking, wow, she's hot and I really want to sleep with her. I'm thinking, how does that work? Like, how is that staying on? I'm wondering, like, does she know that she's wearing eye patches over her nipples? I'm really confused. And it's so I'm literally staring because I'm that guy who I think about things and I notice things. So I'm looking, I'm like, am I really? And then I'll notice I'm like, oh, I'm staring at her. I look like a creepy old guy now. When in reality, I'm just thinking to myself, how does that even work? So it's a fascinating. If you go to any Lifetime Fitness, it's really weird. You wouldn't expect it, but it's not social hour. Social hour is actually at the more serious gyms I've found ever since the social media thing came on, where they will get serious for that one set they film for their Instagram. But between that, they're just kind of lollygagging. Where at Lifetime, it's like, dude, it's 5:30 a.m. I have to be at work at 8. I got to get this in. And they're there not for social media clicks. They already got the bag. They're already making the money. They're not trying to build their social media. They just want to look pretty good in their suit. So it's really a fascinating thing I've noticed, that the more affluent gyms, I will say, the people train harder. Have you ever noticed that?
I want to be honest. The only time I go to the hardcore gyms. So yeah, this summer we've been going to a Lifetime Fitness as well. And so I will say nice. It is that's
what people say.
What's that?
Nice. People be like, must be nice. I'm like, yes, it is nice. There's a sauna. The showers are amazing. They provide Q-tips.
I'm a swimmer. So like we got 3 pools. Like I'm swimming outside. I don't care. The water's getting a little bit hot here. I will say that it is by far and I'm not sure, I'm not even that close to downtown, but it's like, anyway, there's more attractive women at this gym than there are basically anywhere else I've seen in Oklahoma, to be quite honest. And so this is a very family friendly area and everything out here. So it does seem like there are more singles there, and I'm like the old guy with the ring and everything. But those alpha classes that they have, it's like kind of their version of CrossFit or whatever.
Yeah.
Holy crap. Like I don't know. I think those days are probably done for me or whatever. Like I'll meet you in the pool. That's my where I can get after it and everything without hurting myself. But no, I was just there. And in the summer, there's more college kids, it seems like, that are home from school and everything. But I'm not sure if this is a thing or not, if it's a rule, but I really don't see any cameras there at all.
No,
like, are you not allowed to do it in Lifetime, or
they won't let you do tripods.
Okay.
And once, like if my daughter's there and I've been really bad at social media because I have a job. Like I'm not a professional social media guy. And it's like, I'll be like, oh, I'm about to hit my final set. And my daughter will be, because she trains, she has a job. So you're there at like 5:30 a.m. every morning. And I'm like, hey, Cammie, can you film my set? And they're cool with that. But like, you're not going to, and that's the thing. Like, again, I film fit training videos. I understand that. And I don't want to be that guy yelling at kids for, I don't want to be that old man yelling at the sky, that famous Simpsons emoji. But I'm like, sometimes I just don't want to trip over tripods. And I'm becoming that guy. And I understand that I'm part of the reason that's there. I'm one of the first guys to do training videos on YouTube. I understand.
I
understand it's my fault.
You created this monster.
I understand,
but now I'm like,
now I'm like, whatever. And I've done the tripod thing. I've done that before. I don't do it. I can't. You can't get a good workout when you're worried about setting up your tripod before every set, unless you have 3 hours to get the perfect angle. And bro, I have, again, like we have jobs. Like
Yeah.
I have my first call of the day is usually between 7:30 and 8 a.m. My
Mhm.
last call is usually around 5. So I don't have time to sit there and lollygag and worry about getting a few, 10,000 views, whatever. It's just, but I'm not hating on them. I
No.
understand they're trying to build something, but
I
not with me. Like I'll go somewhere where I'm not tripping over your
Yeah,
tripod.
I mean, and yeah, I guess like Lifetime in a way becomes a filter. Like if you could
Yes.
pay that much money, then you probably want to be away from some of that stuff. And I'm probably in the same vein. It is fun hitting up
World.
a hardcore gym when we're on the road with the boys. Here's what's funny: is like, okay, the content creators. Like when I say I want to create content, I'm not going to talk about this because I want to talk about studies and the whatever the vegetables I'm growing and what the hot topic is of the day or whatever. But when I watch Cody is on our team and he's in his 20s.
Oh,
And
Cody's amazing. I love Cody.
he makes some good content. And so
He's way better than you guys
yeah,
because
oh
he's
yeah, no,
young.
I don't even
He's
make
young.
anything. Yeah. So
He
yeah,
knows he
exactly.
knows
So
how
he
to
gets
use
it.
the technology.
Well, he gets it and everything. So like, okay, so there's a video where he's reading his book at the airport. It's part of his travel vlog. And so I'm like thinking about this from the camera's point of view. I'm like, wait a minute, whoa. I was like, are you telling me that you opened up your bag, you went and sat your camera across the aisle at the airport, then sat down, opened the book, pretended to read it, and then closed the book, got the camera, packed it back up, and then you're done? And he's like, well, yeah. He's like, I was like, did you read any of it? And he's like, I read a couple pages. I'm like, okay. I was like, I will never in my life do that, but it does make for a cool shot. It's cinematography or whatever. And
He's
then
so good.
similar, like, we got a shot where we're getting this supplement at the vitamin shop and we do some really cool, videos at Vitamin Shop and GNCs and stuff like that. We partner with them. Where Cody gets out of the car and you see his foot step down onto the thing, click, click, and it steps down. He goes into the store. So I'm like, wait a minute, you parked your car, open the door, put your camera there, turned on the recording, and then got back in your car and pretended to get out of your car for the first time. It's like, I don't know. I guess I don't want that happening when I'm working out because we have limited amount of time to get in a good workout and everything. And I like to sweat. I'm not going to be messing around. Like I'll get caught on my phone once in a while and everything, but like I want to sweat enough. I mark a good workout by how much I'm sweating, and I want it to like go through my towel onto the bench.
Yep.
Like that's the goal for me.
Yeah.
But you're not going to get that if you're fiddling with tripods and stuff. But I get the game. It's like I respect it, but I just think it's kind of funny too that we're setting up cameras in airports. But man, I love Cody, and it looks so good when it's done. It really so is good. Cool. It's just not for me.
I train at a new gym, but I train at different gyms every week from travel, and it's like, I have people. I'm recognized at every gym. I was recognized at a gym in Guadalajara, Mexico.
Nice.
Like, and but I usually have my headphones in, and I'm not an asshole. If people talk to me, I interact, and I'm not that guy. But they're like, dude, I know you're working out. People are always like, I'm so sorry because I'm actually like training hard, and and the problem with me is you don't need a camera. I can't avoid making noises. That's why Planet Fitness won't work for me because I train hard. So like, I try not to, but there'll be like a grunt that'll come out. And I'm like, shit, did I just grunt? I'm trying not to be that guy. So at Lifetime, but I'm not the only one. Like it's I think we're just at that age and it's different. Whereas you used to go to a hardcore gym. If you whipped out a camera, they'd beat you because they're like, this is for training. Now it's the opposite. Now you go to a hardcore gym and everybody's on the gram. And I'm not mad at it. Like let nature take its course. Let these kids go and build their personal brands. I love it. But there's a place for everyone. Yeah. So getting back to everything, we have obviously what's next for you guys at PricePlow?
Okay, so speaking to Cody and everything, like he has started the channel. We've all started the channel, but Cody's really leading the way with BevLab. And so here's the thing, like mile high view and everything. Mike needs to stop working in the business. Mike needs to start working on the business and everything. I don't know why I just spoke to about myself in the third person, but either way, I need to start working on the business, and I want to take this platform and expand it. We are great at launching, ingredients. We're great at talking about formulas in the supplement space, but there's a lot more than sports nutrition. There's a lot more than like the new dietary ingredients. So beverage is obviously this thing that is not going to slow down. And I even told Rob that I gave him his next big business idea, I think just yesterday. We'll see if he
Rob is, by the way, Rob is the founder of Ketone Labs.
And so beverage is not going away. So we are making a whole new segment, and it's called Bev Lab, just about beverage. And it doesn't have to be pre-workout. It doesn't have to be energy drink. It could be coconut water. It could be kombucha, whatever Ben and Cody feel like covering at this point. I want to turn that into a real business segment where we are actually the source of news in the beverage industry. And we need to refine exactly. For me, it's like more like quote unquote better for you type stuff. Like I don't want to be covering the latest flavor of Coca-Cola or whatever, but yeah, maybe we should, like beverage. And so that's one big thing. I want to eventually kind of like remove myself from supplements a little bit and get more into the functional food space and do the same thing over there and cover new food and food ingredients and food technologies and all that stuff. And then I want to build this thing into a media giant, to be honest. I'm like too stuck in it, but I with a little bit of help, I want to turn it into a media giant where we have basically like 5 to 10 of these market segments that we could just dominate. We need some, maybe women's health, maybe even pet health, maybe as I get older, anti-aging type stuff, like complete niche domination. Ben hates it when I say this, so I'm gonna say it if he's still listening. I want to have a vegan channel where we get a vegan Ben. And he's like, there couldn't be no vegan Ben, of course.
There's no vegan Ben.
Yeah.
It's like the bizarro world, man.
Yeah, especially he eats a good bit of beef. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I would like to have our model, but in the vegan world. And there already are some good vegan influencers, but why not? Like, why not help deliver our style of news, our style of content with a whole separate podcast feed in all these different niches? We have this incredibly like goodwill, profitable business model that works. And we are getting out there delivering really good news about new stuff that's actually like science-based, working with good people. Why should it only be stuck in the small area of sports nutrition and supplements? So I want to take this thing and grow it. In the meantime, as you talked with Ben, behind the scenes, people do contact us for consulting a lot. Like, hey, we'll get an email. Ben does a video on a certain new ingredient. Hey guys, can you formulate me a supplement with that ingredient in it? Like, yeah, absolutely. Or, hey, Mike,
there's only one ingredient you need to put in that, by the way.
BHB salts or BHB.
That's all you need.
See, with the beverage, we got to go free acid BHB, and that's where
that's where it's no salt attached.
That's where I just cost Rob a good $10 million with what he's gonna have to do next. So it'll be worth it in the end, though. Trust me. So
I'm sure I'll hear about it by the end of the day.
Hopefully, I don't know, but I will see. It was a serious. I want him to get more involved in beverage. So then, as we are too, like we see this thing happening.
Beverage is the future, and there's. Just looking at the drinks that are really innovating, I think Reaction Energy is going to do really well. Those guys are great.
Reaction Energy.
Reaction Energy, drinkreaction.com. They're good guys. They're I'm not going to tell you their business plan because I can't and I won't. But let's just say that these guys know what they're doing. And they've come out with a really, really pretty cool, innovative formula. And, there's just a lot of people out there that are doing the right thing. I think you also have to realize that there's a guy who's done it before twice, who's going to do it again. And that's Jack Owak.
Yeah.
I think Jack's I think AI Energy, we could write this down. I think AI Energy is going to hit $1 billion in the next 5 years.
Whoa,
if not
really?
sooner.
So I think he renamed it to AI Ultra Dopa, though, or it's
AI Ultra Dopa.
I forget.
Jack is out of everyone I've worked with. My first deal with Jack was in 2000. That's how long I've known Jack Owak. And
legend.
I'll tell you what, people say what they will about Jack. Jack is a great man, great family man, beautiful family, and he truly believes in Christ. And a guy I am very proud to call a friend throughout the years. I love, and the thing is, people don't know Jack. They see public Jack. They see remember he had that bang bling, and they see Instagram Jack, but I don't think people understand, like, this guy has donated millions of dollars to the church. He's just a good man. And I wish more people knew the real Jack.
Awesome.
And that's where I think it's a misnomer, but I would, out of everybody I've met, he's in the top 5 of just decent people. Nice. And a little bit, well, Jack this, Jack that. I'm like, yeah, you got to separate like what a man does in business. He hasn't screwed anybody over. He that's not what he does. And there's people, former employees who I'm friends with, who might not like him, who I'm like, yeah, you know what? That happens. Business is a bitch. I'm sure I have a lot of people I've fired throughout the years who don't like me. and I don't blame him because I fired him.
Well,
but yeah, but he's a great man. And Jack, so mark this down. They're going to be competing with his old company, Bang and Monster, in the next 3 years. I think they're going to be a huge player.
We tried the latest flavor and it is pretty good. So we did that at IFT first. So, well, I don't know if you've got him on the channel. We got to get him on the podcast too and stuff at some point and talk to him.
I mean, I went out and spent a day with him the other week.
Sweet.
I mean, okay. So, well, I mean, I like, as much as I'd love to interview him, I like Jack. I like the fact that we have a personal relationship, and when he gets that going, obviously, I'll always be there he doesn't need anybody's help, right? He's Jack Owak. He's a genius, but I would love to have him because he's such a wealth of information,
Yeah. I mean, I you look at the people in this industry who've been so far ahead of the curve, and I put you, and to me to a small extent, like I saw this thing in the early 2000s too come in. I wish I would have done maybe something different, but they're visionaries. And so you and him, and so he is clearly a visionary, like 1,000 million X more than like anything I am. But you see a guy like Dan Lorenzo at Ghost, or someone like
Dan.
They're visionaries. They see the future, and being able to see the future, obviously he saw that in beverage like way long ago. It is still the future now. So there's no reason not to get further into that area and into that space. So like, and for me, I credit a lot of like being able to understand what's been going on by being involved in the forums back in the day. That's when I saw that people actually wanted science-based information. Back in the bodybuilding.com forums, people were looking for studies and it was tough to find back then and everything. And that's where I realized like, oh, we got to be blogging about this stuff. And nowadays, I think on Twitter is like where a lot of the early stuff is getting seeded. It's not on Instagram. Yes. And so that's where I hang out the most and everything. And so that helps me. But man, like guys like Dan, guys like Jack are truly visionary and everything. So
I haven't talked to Dan in a minute. I've but probably a year. Yeah, I mean he's a billionaire now. Like why would he talk to me? No, I mean Dan. My favorite is I couldn't. We were at I think the LA Fit Expo, and we were like hanging out a little bit, and I couldn't get a cab to start. And he goes, "Hey, Lobliner, come here." He's like, "I got a ride. Hop in with me." And he just shared a ride with me. I'm like, "Do I owe anything?" He's like, "No, Cellucor's paying for it. We're good." So yeah, I have. When you're in I was talking. It was fascinating because Jack and I've been in the industry a very long time, and we had all these stories. It's like, it's not a matter of like finding stories. When you've been in an industry and lived as long in an industry, you just have stories. Yeah. With everybody. You just happen to run into someone here or there, or you did business with this guy, or in retail. I carried a lot of these brands throughout the years. I just happen, and I'm fortunate enough to not have screwed anybody over. So, I have at least a cordial relationship with most. So that's where it's at. But man, it's been awesome having you on here, man.
Yeah, thanks. If I can finish my one thing, though, like you asked about the future. And so, like I've said for myself, and eventually I'm going to not lean on you, but ask you for some advice and stuff. But I want to start creating my own content. The long game, after like we talking about the media stuff, is I do want to start my own food brand, functional food, like quote unquote better for you snacks and everything. And so, at this point in the game, like how do you get attention to this thing you create? It's like basically you either get an influencer or you become the content creator and everything. And so with a combination of starting our own food segment with Price Plow, like with the network, and then doing some of my own content, the long game is eventually I do want to make my own food. And that I'm not at that position to be able to do it because I'm so busy running this thing here. But that is the ultra long game. And when we start doing it, maybe I'll invite myself back on and kind of we'll talk about all that. But like there is a grander plan to what we're doing, and I'm very excited about it. So like I thank you for asking that question because this has been fun. And I really haven't like thrown that out there, but we're gonna be thinking bigger than just this, and it's like we see it, And Jack saw it 20 years ago. We still see it now. So that's I appreciate you asking that question, and I do thank you very much for letting me come on here and ranting your ear off and everything.
Well, I appreciate the years of friendship, man. And look forward to many more years, man. Thank you guys for watching.
Thanks.
Again, we're going to have this cut up, Mike, just so you know. So you have the long podcast. You guys watch. If you missed something and you don't feel like rewinding it, this will be split up by topics we talked about, probably in about 6 to 8 videos on this very channel. So I appreciate you guys watching. Until next time, that's not a game.
Thanks.